Hello everyone, it's me, Clayton, and I just got back from seeing Dunkirk. And when it comes to Christopher Nolan's films, you can always expect his artistic methods to be used very well, whether it's creating dreamlike worlds in Inception, whether it's taking us to space in Interstellar, or just showing us the best of what Batman can offer in the Dark Knight trilogy. But when it comes to Dunkirk, he really lets his artistic sensibilities lend themselves well to a war film based on on a point in World War II history that is probably one of the toughest points to adapt for film, but he finds some way to do it. But let me get to the story, shall we? The story of the film is based on the real-life events of what happened at Dunkirk when the British and French troops were forced to evacuate the city after they were overrun by German military during World War II. The film decides to take three specific storylines and put them together to create this story. One is the story of the infantry on the land, who have to survive for as long as possible while they wait for ships to take them home, which lasts around a week. There's the story on the sea, where a bunch of civilians try to get into their boats and save as many soldiers as they can themselves, and that lasts about a day. And the third storyline is an aerial dogfight between British and French air pilots against German air pilots that lasts about 1 hour. Now, normally it would feel like this film's pretty disjointed since these three storylines constantly go in and out of the film. But shockingly, I think the three storylines add to the film's unique style, considering even though none of the characters are specifically that well developed, considering they have to split the runtime between three different storylines, and the film is only 1 hour and 46 minutes long, it doesn't need to be that way. What the film does is show the effects of war, especially on young people. Especially since a lot of these soldiers are barely older than boys, and a lot of them probably have a lot of things to go through in their lives when they get back home. So seeing their reactions to the various bits of violence that they see, and how hard it is to get back home, and how every single little thing that happens to them is an event, such as getting injured soldiers onto a boat, or trying to take out air bombers before they end up taking out infantry, or even an old man trying to get his boat to Dunkirk to save as many people as he can, just because he knows it's the right thing to do. Every single thing that happens in this film is an event, and it makes every scene worth watching on their own. Now, for individual actors who do a great job, Tom Hardy, of course, does an amazing job as one of the fighter pilots, as he really happens to get into the role very well, and in my opinion, he makes for one of the more tragic characters in the film. And I'm not going to spoil why, but just watch it the entire way through and you'll feel really sorry for the guy at the end. But my favorite character was surprisingly Mr. Dawson, played by Mark Rylance. So he plays an old ship captain who tries to get his boat over to Dunkirk just to save as many civilians as possible, along with two boys. He seems like he really brings the heart to the film, as he happens to bring his dramatic acting to a level that I haven't seen since Bridge of Spies. Now, the visuals are absolutely stunning in this film. Everything from the planes to the battleships to all of the gunfights, except for the lack of blood, look brutally realistic. And the sound design just makes the film even more impactful, as every bomb, every bullet, and every footstep feels loud and really impactful. Go see the film in XD or IMAX or one of those things, because it needs to be seen and heard to be believed. Now, the last thing I'll say about this film is that the ending for the film is very well handled. It treats these soldiers not like heroes, but more like survivors, and it treats these characters as if they've been through such a traumatic event that you just feel like you need to take a rest after it. So overall, Dunkirk is a very well done Christopher Nolan film that's a bit different from the films that he's made previously, but it is a very solid war film in its own right. It just helps the fact that, unlike films like Hacksaw Ridge and Saving Private Ryan, it keeps you in the moment of the war, and it just keeps you at that moment the entire time. There's no backstories about people back home that they need to save, and there's no flashbacks to their families. It simply keeps you in that moment in time, and it makes you feel sorry for these characters simply by putting them in dangerous situations. I give Dunkirk a 9 out of 10. See you next time.